Happy 420.
I'm Kai.
And I'm Queen Reefer.
And you're watching
Stone Cold Murder.
Just a PSA, if you have any information to help solve a crime, you can go to crimestoppers.com to report any information anonymously.
This podcast contains material that might not be suitable for all audiences. Viewer discretion is advised.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of Stone Cold Murder. It has been a few weeks since we last recorded, but we took a much needed break because I have a lot of change going on in my life and I really much needed it. So thank you guys for being patient and coming back. So how have you been, Queen?
Peachy.
Just peachy?
Peachy.
No changes with you?
No, I'm boring.
Boring. That's a lie.
Pretty boring.
I'm just streaming and working at a cool job and cosplaying and hiking and doing paddleboarding and all this stuff. But
I'm just a girl.
Interesting.
I guess that's something.
Yeah.
Just hiking.
Yeah.
Been hiking a lot.
Yeah. Oh, I was going to tell you the other day, be careful hiking in the rain because you could get struck by lightning.
Oh, yeah.
And people get struck by lightning more often than you would think. So
yeah,
not
true.
To be a mom, but
I almost busted my face open too, and I slipped on a walk. I slipped on a rock because it was raining.
Dang,
could have busted my face.
Dang,
but it was great.
Nice.
It only lasted like 2 minutes, so
that's good.
Yeah, it was just a quick.
Yeah,
but I'm good.
Just good.
It's peachy.
We love that.
How are you though?
Hanging in there.
Hanging in there.
Doing things.
Doing hot girl shit.
Yeah. Hot girl shit.
Ooh, slay.
Slay. Yeah, no, I'm good. Resetting a lot of things. My new job is fantastic, so that's cool. We love a nice, easy, chill job because, boy howdy, I've been through the ringer.
Yeah.
The last couple.
But you're here now.
We're here now.
Slay.
We're doing good things.
Slay pussy boss queen.
Yeah,
love
exactly.
that for you.
Not only that, I've been talking about Adderall like every episode for like how long, remember? My work gave me these new things that they're trying out because they found, not us specifically, but people have found this thing called THCV inside cannabis, and it is like an appetite suppressant / focus booster, and it like mimics Adderall or whatever. So they gave me a bunch to try.
Nice.
And I can report and say it's pretty nice.
Does it make you like feel high?
No.
Or just like
it's supposed to like mute like the effects of being high, so it makes you focused instead.
What?
How do you take it?
They're gummies.
You boof it.
They're kind of nasty, but they're like great flavor.
No, you boof it.
Does that work too?
Boof it. You could probably boof it.
What can't you boof?
It might not break down super well as a boof. If you boof in it, you might want to boof like RSO or something like that.
You know,
that's sticky.
Ugh, that's a weird word.
Boof.
Boof.
We have a strain called Super Boof.
Perfect. Try it.
There are weed suppositories though, so we could just skip all of the stickiness and stuff and go to those.
I'm okay.
All right. Well, I'm glad you've been just peachy.
Thank you.
Yeah. You know that Life Peachy is a Korn album?
Is it?
Yeah. Anyways. All right. I think we're ready to get into the cases then.
Yes.
And I did say cases plural. Because,
cases.
Yeah, cases. This is not a singular case. And I would normally take the individual cases and give them their own episodes, and I still kind of am, but this is going to be like a more part 2 situation type thing going on. because where it's not like a serial killer type situation, these cases are intertwined / interlinked.
Word.
By unfortunate circumstances, so.
Makes sense then.
Yeah. And I will warn you guys, these cases, among all of the other cases we listen to, are very hard to hear. But this particular one was hard for me to research. It's going to be hard for me to even record. These are not cases that I normally wanted to cover, but I do think it is important to cover. So I do want to give you guys a second warning for the episode. So I think quite a few people in this world will make the mistake that all violence and murder is a hate crime. Because you have to like hate someone to murder them. I just want to point out that this is simply not the truth. These two cases that we're going to be covering today are in fact hate crimes, and they are different than most cases that we have covered here because they are solved cases. And now, why am I emphasizing the hate crime aspect of this? Well, first of all, I think it's important that people know the difference between what a hate crime is and just a case of murder. A hate crime is an act like assault, vandalism, or murder, where the offender's biases against the victim's race, religion, disability, sexual orientation, ethnicity, gender, or gender identity is a key motivator. So this goes for anyone targeted for being Christian, Jewish, Muslim, Buddhist, Black, White, Mexican, Middle Eastern, gay, straight, transgender, transgender. If they have mental disabilities or physical. This encompasses all of this being targeted for being just an individual. In other words, it's a crime committed due to a prejudice or hate towards a specific group or individuals and their characteristics. So this is different from a crime of passion, where someone walks in on their partner who's cheating and kills both parties, or a robbery where they just kill all the witnesses involved, or a kidnapping where the intent was always murder. These murders were going to take place regardless of the way the victim identifies. So again, a hate crime are carried out only because of the way the victim identifies and no other factors motivating them. So I just feel like that's important to point out, because I do see, like, in a lot of these cases where they're like, well, you shouldn't charge this individual harsher because it's a said hate crime, but I completely disagree with that, because as I said, like, a lot of these things are stuff that you can't really change and can't help. This is like an individual aspect of someone that is being targeted against. That's fucked. And I think we can all grasp this concept, right?
Yeah.
And if not, we can rewind and go back a little while until it does click with you. Sorry if that's bitchy, but y'all can get it. I know you can. So before we get started, we have that warning at the beginning, but I gave that second one. So if you guys don't want to hear it, go ahead and maybe click another episode or whatever. But now that we are all on the same page and have been properly prepared, let's get into the cases.
Let's do it.
All right. So our first story starts out on June 7th, 1998 in Jasper, Texas. You have this pretty little Jasper sign here. And as you can imagine, in Texas in June, it's probably pretty hot that morning, pretty nice and warm and toasty. Jasper County Sheriff Billy Rawls was driving to Dallas for a golf tournament when he heard on the radio that a body was found on Huff Creek Road. Rawls spoke to the deputy on scene, who said there appeared to be a hit and run, which is interesting. So Rawls turned around his truck and drove back to Jasper. And on Huff Creek Road, Rawls saw tracks on the ground and thought it would be easy to identify the car that was used in the incident, because everything would be there, you know. We could probably figure it out pretty easily. But it quickly became clear that something was more sinister on the road. It wasn't just a hit and run. Those markings were not tire tracks, but the trail from a body being dragged.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Wait, I just got chills.
Yeah.
I'm actually
I'm
just
sorry,
got chills.
This case is gonna... Both of these cases make me sick to my stomach, so...
Okay.
I'm sorry. You wanted a solved case, here you go.
I know I did, but what?
God damn it, these suck.
Okay.
Yeah. At the end of the path, Rawls saw a mutilated body. But this wasn't just a mutilated body, it was a dismembered body.
Wait, how do they say it's a hit and run then?
I don't know. I couldn't be sure why they would say that.
Did they not get, like, all the way to the end?
I don't know. Personally, I don't know how you would look at this scene and say hit and run. I don't understand. There's a lot of this case that I don't understand, but that's the first good question.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Like, where did they come up with that theory of a hit and run?
So as the investigators looked over the scene, they found a trail of evidence. They found keys, empty beer cans, a wrench with the name Barry on it, and a lighter. The lighter had the name Possum scratched into it, which I think is funny and also weird, and an inverted symbol carved into it. Now, I know when you hear an inverted symbol, you automatically think probably a pentagram, right?
Yeah.
Right. Wrong. The symbol was later identified as a Ku Klux Klan emblem, which is even more terrifying than I personally think a fucking pentagram is, because holy shit, that is not something you want to find at a crime scene or anywhere, honestly. Yeah. Investigators got a tip from a young man who saw Byrd riding in the back of a pickup truck on Saturday night. Byrd was 49-year-old James Byrd Jr., a father of 3 and a vacuum cleaner salesman. In his younger years, Byrd often walked through his town to visit neighbors and entertain them with jokes and music. He was a very talented singer, and he played both the piano and trumpet. According to his family members and lifelong Jasper residents, he was often called to perform at birthday parties, funerals, and other events. So he was quite the musician, it seemed.
Love that for him.
Yeah. Quote, "I remember him as a jolly person who loved to sing," said Gloria Mays Washington, who actually graduated with James from J.H. Rowe High School around the same time that school desegregation plan took effect. So think about that for a second. They graduated in 1967 in the last segregated class that school had. So think about the times that James was living in.
Mm-hmm.
Hard times for a black man. Hard time for anybody, but especially a black man. James had suffered a fall in his adulthood that left him disabled, but he didn't let that hold him back from the things he enjoyed, like playing music. And with that, we're going to take our first smoke break. Before the smoke break, we were talking about James, his life, and playing music and all that. And yeah. So James lived alone in Jasper in June of 1998 when this tip actually came into the police. And as we stated earlier, a young man saw James riding in the back of a pickup truck Saturday night. This eventually led Rawls and his team to possible suspects in the case. Sean Barry owned a truck that matched the witness's description, and Barry lived with John King and Lawrence Brewer, 2 known white supremacists. So after more details of the crime came in, by Sunday evening, all 3 men were in jail. So on June 7th of 1998, James actually accepted a ride from Sean Barry. who was aged 23, Lawrence Brewer, aged 31, and John King, who was also 23. Sean Berry was driving and was somewhat acquainted with James Byrd from around town, but not like friends or anything like that. And instead of taking James home like that they said that they were going to, the three men actually took him to a remote county road out of town, and then they beat him severely. After James suffered an unbelievable amount of beatings, the three men still weren't satisfied with their horrific acts. So they chained him by his ankles to their pickup truck, and they dragged him for about 3 miles down Huff Creek County Road 278. Brewer later claimed that James' throat had been slashed by Berry before he was dragged, but this was determined to not be true. Forensic evidence suggests that James had actually been attempting to keep his head up while being dragged, and an autopsy suggests that he was alive during most of the dragging. Almost all of James's ribs were fractured, but his brain and skull were found intact. So this suggests further that he maintained consciousness while he was being dragged that night.
That's awful.
It's horrible.
I got chills again.
I know. It's really bad.
Poor thing.
So James Byrd Jr. died about halfway through this 3-mile dragging. His right arm and his head were severed when his body hit a culvert. And then James's body was then dragged another 1.5 miles until Berry, Brewer, and King eventually dumped his body at a black cemetery on Huff Creek Road. And then they casually drove off to a barbecue like nothing happened. A motorist eventually found James's decapitated remains at the following morning. The police found 81 places that included portion of James Byrd Jr.'s remains down Huff Creek Road during their investigation. 81.
That's fucking sick.
It's disgusting. Since Brewer and King were well-known white supremacists, it was determined by state law enforcement officials that the murder was a hate crime. The day after James's murder, Rao met with the FBI officials in Beaumont. He said a killing so clearly motivated by a victim's race belonged under federal jurisdiction. They called upon the Federal Bureau of Investigation less than 24 hours after the discovery of James's remains. The special agent in charge of the FBI's Houston office said that they were assisting because of the case's extreme circumstances. Over the next several years, Rouse worked with the feds and local police to complete the investigation and prosecute the 3 perpetrators for the hate crime. Berry, Brewer, and King were all tried and convicted for James's murder. Brewer and King received the death penalty, while Berry was sentenced to life in prison.
Why only 2 of them? Why not all 3?
I think because he claimed that he wasn't a white supremacist and that he didn't really want to do it, but he was tied to the case and all that.
I don't give a fuck. You did it, bitch.
Exactly. That's
bullshit.
Dumb. It's bullshit. Yeah.
So, but yeah. I am glad they took it serious from the beginning.
Right.
The FBI and stuff, getting them involved.
Yeah. Yeah, it's one of those cases that you're like, thank God they did something immediately, because there are so many other cases like this that don't go with anybody giving a fuck.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So Brewer and King received the death penalty while Berry was sentenced to life in prison. Brewer was executed by lethal injection on September 21st of 2011, and King was executed on April 24th of 2019. They got to live way fucking longer, in my opinion, than they should have, but I hope they rest in piss. So, good. I'm glad that they finally saw their end. So, the 77th Texas legislature passed the James Byrd Jr. Hate Crimes Act with the signature of Governor Rick Perry, who actually inherited the balance of George W. Bush's unexpired term, and the act became Texas state law in 2001. The law was to enhance penalties for crimes motivated by biases against an individual's race, color, disability, religion, national origin, ancestry, age, gender, or sexual preference. In 2009, Matthew Shepard and James Byrd Jr.'s Hate Crime Prevention Act expanded to the 1969 United States Federal Hate Crime Law to include crimes which are motivated by a victim's actual or perceived gender, sexual orientation, or gender identity or disability. So it's more encompassing of more things.
Yeah.
Now you may be asking, Kai, who's Matthew Shepard? We haven't talked about or mentioned that name like at all this episode. And yeah, you're right. We haven't. You're very right. But we are going to mention Matthew Shepard in part 2. So we will see you guys in part 2 next week or whenever this happens, and you'll get to see the end of the case. So tune in and see you then.
Thanks for watching, guys. If you enjoyed the episode, please like, comment, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you know when the next episode drops. Follow Stone Cold Murder and the host's socials. The link will be in the description below. And until next time, stay high, stay safe, and thanks for watching.